group unleashed a surprise attack on Israel Saturday by land, air, and sea, slaughtering civilians and taking countless others hostage. A music festival in southern Israel near the Gaza Strip, which Hamas controls, was turned into a bloodbath with 260 young Israeli men and women killed. President Biden says at least 11 Americans are among the dead, and other Americans may be among the hostages. Now Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has declared war, bombarding the Gaza Strip in a relentless retaliation. On Monday, Israeli strikes targeted a mosque and a marketplace in Gaza, killing dozens. Israel's defense minister says authorities will block food, water, and fuel from entering Gaza, an area that already is restricted. In the meantime, a spokesman for Hamas is threatening to execute one hostage each time an Israeli airstrike hits Gazans in their homes. The White House is joining other global landmarks in a show of support, lit up in blue and white colors of the Israeli flag. President Biden is also joining European leaders in condemnation of Hamas and what they call its appalling acts of terrorism. The U.S. is accelerating shipments of air defense equipment and munitions to Israel and moving an aircraft carrier strike group and Navy destroyers to the region. A UCLA professor says Israel has one of the most sophisticated armies in the world. However, this unforeseen attack was a failure in intelligence.
Satan. They call Israel the little Satan. They chant death to America. They develop intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. Intercontinental, that's not meant for Israel. That's meant for us. Now, while dealing with Iran's nuclear activity, which has long been part of the conversation here within the United States and also internationally, we also have to look at Iran's other bad behavior inside the region, overthrowing foreign governments, sponsoring terror. Hamas is an Iranian proxy. There's no way that Hamas carries out these attacks without support from Iran and a blessing from Iran. Now, if anyone wants to really be skeptical of this position, I would say just go to Iran's supreme leader's Twitter account. In his own words, with his own postings. This is something that they are actively involved with and encouraging with this operation. So it's very naive. And to answer your question, there's no good reason at all to do it if you want to protect American interests at home and abroad.
Lisa, Joey, I want to get your take on this. You've served in Congress. You understand the dynamics at play. None of this is severed from politics. We have presidential candidates weighing in, critiquing this administration. Obviously, you have your thoughts. We don't have a Speaker of the House right now. Obviously, much of this lands into the administration's purview as far as what to react. But are we limited, debilitated? Are we in a weak and vulnerable spot to not have leadership in the House? Or is this something that will mainly go to the administration?
I think that the United States, Republicans and Democrats in Congress...
Hamas also fired a heavy Hamas launched a surprise assault on Israel on Saturday, its biggest in years. Gunmen from the Palestinian Islamist movement crossed from Gaza into Israeli towns in an unprecedented infiltration. Hamas also fired a heavy barrage of rockets into Israel. We are at war, said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and the enemy will pay an unprecedented price. Israel's military said its forces were operating inside Gaza, but gave no details. Hamas military commander Mohammed Deif said the group had fired 5,000 rockets. This is the day of the Great Revolution to end the last occupation on Earth, he says. This video obtained by Reuters shows Palestinians pulling what appears to be the body of an Israeli soldier from a tank on the Gaza border as Palestinians cheer. Another released by the Hamas armed wing is said to show fighters overrunning an Israeli military camp. Warning sirens sounded across southern and central Israel. This was the aftermath of the deadly attack in Rehovot. Israeli media reported gun battles between bands of Palestinian fighters and security forces in one of the most serious escalations in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in years. The Israeli military said it had launched airstrikes into Gaza, where witnesses reported hearing heavy explosions. A Palestinian bulldozer broke through the border fence, and people streamed out of Gaza to cries of "God is great." In Gaza itself, people rushed to buy supplies in anticipation of days of conflict ahead. Some evacuated their homes and headed for shelters.
Extraordinary build-up of Israeli heavy armour. On the high ground over there, I've counted at least 40 Israeli tanks, but there are 2 columns of them stretching well beyond the horizon, so it's impossible to say how many more there are over there. There are also armoured personnel carriers and D9 bulldozers over there. Those are the armoured bulldozers the Israelis use to punch their way through busy residential areas, densely populated areas of Gaza. I think that gives a sense of what the Gazans have
coming. There's also the roar of fighter jets overhead as they continue their aerial bombardment of Gaza. And there are dugout areas here. They're digging out with other bulldozers, presumably to give some kind of cover and protection to the artillery they're going to bring in, which they will also use to pound Gaza. What is striking about this is, A, the numbers. I've covered Middle Eastern wars for getting on for 2 decades. I've never seen this amount of heavy armour, Israeli heavy armour, in one place. But also, in previous operations, this morning in their briefing, it will be a game changer. Israelis, but for the Gazan civilians living...
بس المربع كله المربع اللي جنب الخلود على طول المربع اللي جنب الخلود واحد يجي هنا
Hinihingi pa namin ang reaksyon ng mga kagawaran na nakuha ng confidential fund. Pero sa mungkahin, sa 4.8 billion pesos kasi na hinihingi.
Israel has the right to defend itself and its people. Full stop.
Well, this isn't a barn attack on Israel. This is indiscriminate.